Welcome back. This is Adbeel from WolfSteel Buildings, and today we got two videos in one. Okay, so grab your popcorn, relax, sit back, and enjoy this 40x50 Weld-Up red iron building just located down the street from our Fort Worth headquarters. We're going over to Weatherford, Texas, and in part one, that's where Jared and I were on site during the execution part of the framing. And so at that, we're talking about layouts, some of the unique specs, especially with like the concrete as well. Now, heads up, we did lose a clip of that on-site walkthrough tour, but don't worry, we covered it all in our part two, where we go over the completed project from left to right, back and front. It's a spectacular project, black and white. You do not want to miss out, okay? Now, before we do that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Hit that notification bell button. Let's get this video started. Welcome back. This is Adbeel from WolfSteel Buildings, and we've got Jared back on the channel. I know you guys love him on the channel because he provides a lot of value. Welcome back, Jared.
Thank you.
We're out here in Weatherford, Texas. We're actually really close to our fab shop for our tubular buildings, but we got an awesome, exciting Weld-Up project that's going on right here in Weatherford, Texas. So we're really excited to give you guys a little tour during the action part. So we're going to talk about what's happening, how does this process usually work, and what's gonna be the finished project, you know? So you don't want to miss out. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Also follow us on our Instagram, our TikTok, and our Facebook. We're showing a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that is actually pretty cool. I like the action.
I do.
Alrighty guys, let's get this video started. So Jared, you did mention how we planned this out here. So the elevation stays the same here on the enclosed section, and the lean-to is the one that has the drop, the drop down, the ledge detail. Man, I'm just really proud of the concrete. It's just really nice. A nice stain on this, perfect. All right, be careful here. Let's walk in the inside, a little bit of the action. Jared, anything you want to talk about the structure here? So usually, I do have a question for you. What is our usual spacing for our weld-ups when it comes down to the beams? What is our usual spacing? And I know we have something unique here going on.
So this is a non-engineered weld-up. So for our usual spacings for non-engineered weld-ups and even engineered weld-ups, even though technically some engineers will design heavier beams or something, they'll kind of play around with the spacing. We try not to ever exceed 20 feet. So even with our engineer, we kind of tell them, hey, on our engineered weld-ups, don't exceed 20 feet. So let's say a 50 long building. Some people would say, hey, let's up the beam size and we'll do one at 0, one at 25 feet centered, and then one at 50. So we don't like to do that. We like the look of max 20-foot spacings. We like the rigidity of it. So from there, what we did here is, I think these are like 16'8".
Somewhere around there.
Yeah,
marketing help us out.
They're 16'8". So with this case, instead of having only 3 rows of columns and rafters, we have 4. If it was a 60 long, it would still have 4. If it was a 65 long, now we can exceed the 20, so now it's gonna have 5. So that's how our non-engineered weld-ups and our engineered weld-ups are built. As far as when you get into bolt-ups, that's where they move around a lot. Sometimes the max I've seen is 25.
I've seen 30s on a bolt-ups. Now, there's so many ways it goes where now you reinforce your purlins to be able. There's so many different ways that it all works out, so it can get creative. But for us here, this structure is solid. I mean, you're talking 16-foot spacing with really, what size I-beams? These are 12 inches.
12 by 14
12 by
per
14,
foot.
14 pounds.
I do want to touch on this. Actually, we came out here Tuesday, and I was talking. Well, Javier was talking to the customer, and he kind of mentioned to us. He was like, "Hey, are they gonna weld that? You know, and it like, I don't know if you want to get up close on that.
So it's not welded.
They were like, hey, are they gonna weld that? Because at the time it was just kind of a tack, you know? And I was like, yeah. So what happens is what we like to do is we like to start kind of framing up. You know, we really like to get a good go on framing. And so we throw on a couple of tacks, not just a small tack, but we throw, you know, quite sufficient enough to hold it in place while we're building. And then from there, afterwards, kind of what happens is once you have a lot of it framed up, the guys start going around. You know, one guy starts in that corner, one guy starts in this corner, and then they get everything. You're talking beams, C-purlins. So it's just kind of the way the framing process works is they're not gonna, you know, fully sit there and weld, you know, throw down a whole, you know, weld around the beam, right? I think the proper term is a CJP, complete joint penetration, right? They're not gonna throw that down while they're trying to frame. First, they're gonna frame because if something's off, it allows you to quickly, you know, cut it and then you adjust, right? So you don't get that full weld really until, you know, somewhere before obviously before the sheet metal process. You don't want to start sheeting and then you're throwing, you know, sparks around and damaging the panels. But that was kind of, I've had that question asked a lot.
Like, what? What's going on, right?
Yeah, like, hey, is that really it?
That's a great insight in regards to the process. So if, like, say our client right now walks out, you know, he might have that question, like, are you guys gonna weld the whole thing? Or, you know, it usually waits till you start having most of the frame to be able to have flexibility to be able to make adjustments. Now, I want to talk about the concrete because I'm loving this concrete too. So half of this is actually got a 6-inch thick slab, and that's because he's gonna have a little bit more of a heavier equipment. And we have squares because our client's gonna be putting a lift in here, okay, to work on his vehicles. So it's gonna be a stationary lift, and that's why we have squares. I think they're 4x4, they're 4 foot deep, really reinforced, where we're gonna tie in that stationary lift. And the other thing I want to talk about is we did bring about 300 yards of fill here, okay? It's a lot of fill, especially here. You can see the elevation from the drone shots here. When we bring so much fill, what we do is that in this case, we did piers. So we did 12x10 piers on the bottom of those footers to really tie down and go deeper into the ground because of so much elevation that had to be, or so much fill that had to be brought in. And so that's all alien soil. It's soil that barely got compacted. So that's why we did 12x10 piers here. So they're all over the place along with our cross internal beams. Super solid concrete. You can see it's beautiful. Any final comments, Jared? So this is a 40 wide, 50. This is about 2,000 square foot. I'm excited for the final project. Right now, what do we have left to do? They're gonna start doing all the purlins before.
Well, we still got to stick out the soffit towards the front and the back.
Oh yeah,
for the back's a little harder because there's a little bit less, you know, area to work with. It's a little bit more ladders. Maybe even use the SkyTrack a little bit. Off towards the front, there's a slab, so it's a little easier to run the electric scissor lifts there. So that's that. And honestly, just going around and fully welding everything. That's why, like, you know, you look at the lean-to. I mean, it still needs purlins. It still needs a lot of paint in places, but it's because, you know, we still got to go through weld and then repaint over it. So it's, I mean, there's still a little bit of work left. If all goes well, paneling Saturday or maybe half day or half of Friday tomorrow.
Alrighty, Pack. I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a lot of value. You don't want to miss out for the final tour. It's going to be spectacular. Alrighty, Pack. Let's start with Javier. Javier, talk to me. What are the dimensions that we have here on our building?
Yeah, so we have an awesome 40 wide, 50 foot long, 15 foot tall to the eaves, metal building here, red iron building.
So it's a 40 wide here. So that's on the gable side, right?
Correct. So on the end wall here is 40 wide, running along the sidewall, 50 foot long.
Man, so that's a 2,000 square feet, if I'm not mistaken.
Roughly, yeah, 2,000 square feet.
2,000 square feet, but we do have a lean-to. Do you know what the dimensions of that is?
Yeah, that lean-to is 14 foot wide, 50 foot long. and it is 8 feet to the eaves.
Man, this is a pretty good size out of Argenis. We got a 612 pitch. Why did our client get a 612 pitch? What was the reasoning?
Absolutely. The reason the client decided to do a 612 roof pitch is really to match their home. So I hope we show a couple footage or reroll on their property, but it actually matches. It was to match their home, so it looks like in the same property.
I know he did mention also like the home was a big one, and also like to have a lot more clear space for like the lift.
Yes.
Because he wants to set up lifts. I know the concrete has a certain sections that's already prepared to be able to, you know, he can install his lift on it.
Great point. Yes, the reason the 612 also was to have that lift, so you have that clearance to the lift go up, and also the I don't know if you want to go over the overhangs yet, but
let's go, man. Let's go to the overhang.
Yeah,
man.
The client decided to add overhangs. Originally, the building was not going to have overhangs on the selling process. Originally, the building was going to be tubular. After a couple research and the client really thinking about the structure they're looking for, they decided to upgrade to a red iron building, and a red iron building gives you that option to add overhangs on the structure. So they went ahead and added a 2 feet overhang, which, as you can see, it looks how nice it looks, bro. that soffit underneath the overhang, man, it gives it that beautiful touch. It's so nice.
Now, Javier, that 2 foot overhang definitely looks amazing. It makes it look very residential. Now it takes a little bit more work, right?
That's correct. That's correct. Maybe not work on us, right, on the selling point, but for our guys being on site, it adds a little bit more labor. And what I mean by that is additional trims. We actually ran into a complication here on our lean-to. As you can see, there's a bit of a tight space, very little room to work. So we ran into that complication, but the guys did make it work. With the 612 pitch, it gives it that angle, which the guys, you can picture it yourself, pretty much had to be laying under that lean-to just to be able to install that soffit panel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because there was a little bit of gap. What was the space there? But what is the dimension of the lean-to from top to, you know, the heights? Do you know?
Yeah, so if I'm not mistaken, it should be connecting to around roughly 12 feet. Okay. So give us about a 2 foot drop down. Really giving the guys a little bit to no room to get under there and install the panels.
To get under it. We'll talk a little bit more of that. 2 foot overhang, definitely the downspouts also gives us a little bit more extra work, right, Javier?
Yeah, absolutely. So the guys, due to the overhang, they have to figure out a way to break it so that they can extend with that 2 foot overhang.
Yeah, that's nice. And then we're giving it a little bit of a nice, not a full cut this way, but at a little bit more maybe like a, don't quote me on angles, but not definitely a 90 degree. So that way the water does run off, and then if there's any gut or any like leaves that do go through it, it allows it for smoother, not any cluttering that might happen there. Correct. Man, I love the look of downspouts and gutters. Is this standard for our red iron Argenis?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Gutters and downspouts are standard for red iron buildings. So anytime you get a red iron building, it comes included with gutters and downspouts. On our quotes, whenever you request a quote for a building, you will see you have a price item on the gutters and downspouts. It's just to show you the price for the gutters and downspouts installation, but it comes in for the building. We have a specific trim, which Javier, I would be more than glad to know about the trim that we have for gutters and downspouts. But it's something we have on our red iron buildings, and it makes it really hard for us to take it off.
Yeah, absolutely. So the two trims that we work with here are our gutter and our rake. They're actually a sculptured gutter and rake that allows for a much cleaner and smoother, slick look over on the building. You can see it as it is. Just completely, it's just a nice, beautiful look. Especially with that overhang, it really sticks out.
It just completes it. So that's why, in a way, the gutters and downspouts is actually part of the trim system. So if we take it off, the building would not look as clean as it does. It's also an aesthetic to it. Now, before we go into on that side, I do want to talk about the our window trimming system that we do for our red iron. Javier, I know you're good at that. Talk to us about the trim system that we have here, if you want to get a little bit closer.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to. So we have overall a J trim here going around the window on 3 sections. Above here, you'll notice that it looks a little bit different. What we call this is a head trim. What the head trim allows for us, and something that we as WolfSteel have implemented on our windows, is this actually allows for the water any kind of rain, any kind of water getting through here to just be shot around the corners, avoiding the sides of the window here, which we do actually caulk and go all the way around the window. But overall, we love what it's done for us.
Yeah, because here is the weak point for leaking, because you have to cut the metal. So this is the weak point. And so the way, if you're seeing that design, the water is gonna come up here in the front, and when it rains, you'll just see like a nice draining, like water going like in like
it's almost like
like
a waterfall. Just
yeah, like a waterfall. There you
and
go.
the water's coming out to the side of the window.
To the side.
It's pretty neat how it looks.
Another thing that we do for planning purposes, we try to stay away from a rib.
That's correct, we do. So as you can see here, we've had difficulties with it before. Whenever a window ends here at a rib, we actually keep it about 6 inches, just because this is a 12-inch rib, paneled up rib to rib. So we recently changed that just because you can see leaking occur whenever a window's on a rib, makes it a little bit more difficult to install.
That's correct. So sometimes in your architectural plan, if you say, hey, I want my window, 6 feet away, usually during our processing team, our planning team, or even when it goes over to our building team, which is where you are on the coordination, you guys review for that. We allow the movement to get away from that rib. And that's where you guys contact the client sometimes.
Yeah, that's correct. So we actually like to do it from the beginning. Before the building gets to us, we create a plan of action that allows us, to keep an eye out for those kinds of things.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, man, all right. And what colors, man? Talk to me about the colors. What colors do we have here at Argenis for this beautiful building, man? I'm just impressed. I'm so impressed.
So the colors for this building are the beautiful, beautiful combination of black and white. Honestly, that is top 3 combinations ordered and selected by clients for a reason. You can't go wrong with it. It's untimely, which means that no matter how long it is from now, it's gonna look nice to 100 years from now. But the client selected black trim, white panels, which on Red Iron buildings, the color white is really nice because it's not really flashy. It's kind of like, honestly, it kind of looks kind of like a light gray, in my opinion. But white is really nice, if you can see, and then you have the black roof and black trim as well. For the overhead doors, a really cool thing about this project is originally the client was actually gonna do a bigger overhead door and a smaller overhead door. But as you can see, the client decided to do 2 size overhead doors, 2 of the same size. So they're both equal. That way it looks more symmetrical, it looks nicer. Also, one thing too is the client decided to do windows for the overhead doors, which we do offer for our garage doors. For our garage doors, we have the option to select windows, and not only that, you can select the different design on the windows and how tall you want the windows. Fortunately, I'm pretty tall, so right now I can actually see through them. But you can actually select how tall you want it. For some clients that want it a little taller for more lighting to come through, you can absolutely do that. For clients that want it lower, you can absolutely do that. You can actually select what carriage you want the windows to be at. And if you want them to be see-through, mirror, or glass, or mirror see-through, we have different multiple options where you can select on the windows, which is so cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what size are these, Javier?
Yeah, so these are both 14 by 14, so 14 wide, 14 tall, black overhead doors.
Black overhead doors, and they're insulated.
They are. They have an R value of 6.8. These will be insulated, yes sir.
Oh, wow. Wow. Beautiful. And so this is white and black. The soffit is also black. We usually recommend the soffit to be the color of the trim, but you can also, as a client, you can select and custom design it your own way.
Yeah.
But typically our soffit is recommended to be the color of our trim, right?
Yeah, to be the same color as the trim. I think just because doing it a separate color gives it a distinguished look. But I think the matching color just gives it that fine touch.
One of the things that I love, so for example, we had a client out in Austin who had an all gray or I think it was Gobaloon building. And then all of a sudden they had a brown door and it looked amazing. Like you would think about it and it was like, but it's because the door makes everything like just stand out, makes it pop out. That's exactly here when you have a contrasting color on your overhead doors or on your main entrance doors. like it makes this building like really just stand out. Because I know earlier here, one of the neighbors just drove by and they came to check out the building. They just said, hey, I want to see the building. Yeah. It just stands out, and I think it also has to do with those overhead doors.
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree, Adbeel. The doors and the windows are the eyebrows and the eyes to the face, man.
Hey, I used to say the trim was the eyebrows to the building, but now also the doors are they are. And definitely true. What gauge panels do we have here on this, Javier?
Yeah, so the gauge of the panels is a 26 gauge. The name of the profile is actually a PBR panel. So this comes standard for all our red iron buildings. There is a lower gauge panel, 29 gauge, but in terms of our red iron buildings, this has just become the standard. Really helps with the durability and overall strength of the building itself.
Yeah, and this is just standard. Also, we definitely have our base trim standards with our red iron. So the base trim is this trim here, which definitely helps for any critters from coming in. And I know we have the foam gap enclosures, which we're gonna show you guys over there in the inside how all that works. But that base trim is also coming at the standard. We recommend it at the standard color of the panel.
Yes, sir. So we recommended the base trim to match the color of the panel, but as a client, you can actually change it. So if you want it to be a different color, you can also do that.
One of the reasons why that we keep it white as a standard is because concrete sometimes is not perfectly level. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it has like a small dip. I mean, you know, so if you have a different color, well, when we're installing, we level the base trim. So the base trim stays level. So if the concrete is not helping, and having a little gap, you'll see it more with a different color. So having that is also in a way like covering up any of the deficiencies that can happen. It's just some of those little things that like we know from when we do our work.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
So this is 40 wide. This is what 40 wide gets you. Two 14x14s. You can definitely park two RVs in here. Motor homes.
Yeah, absolutely. Something that I always like to recommend, and I think on the sales side
yes, sir.
As well, is
yes,
legal
sir.
ride height is about 13 and a half, 13 feet 6 inches. So gives you just about with any vehicle, you know, RV, you know, pickup truck, anything will just fit nice and perfect there through that door.
Man, and the same trim we have on our doors, the ones that we have on our windows, is also on our doors. So all that water is just gonna be
seeping away.
Seeping away. All right, now this is another beautiful section of our building here.
Yes, sir.
So this is dimensions, Javier, again, if you can help us out.
Yeah, so it's 14 wide, 50 foot long. So you see it's a open and enclosed portion of a lean-to, which in my opinion is a really nice touch and addition. Argenis, do you have a reason why the customer chose to have the enclosed portion?
Yeah. So this lean-to has an open section and it has an enclosed section. So the enclosed section, the client requested that they're just to storage their RV, to cut the grass, their tools, just their tools. They don't need to be insulated. So they just wanted to get that little section right there for that. So they actually have a roll-up door there. So they have a roll-up door there and they have a garage door in the main building. Really cool, man. Honestly, that's so cool.
If you watch the interview, he explains the whole purpose of why he has it that way. So you don't want to miss out on that because it's really, really cool.
Oh yeah, that is so nice.
Look at this, black frame. Man, why would you recommend black frame from your perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. From our perspective is having it being exposed, just to prevent any surface rust, having it painted, going over with black, which we do have several options. Black to me is my favorite. It just prevents surface rust and overall longevity of the exposed frame.
It just looks nice. Yeah, man, honestly, black clients always, I would say most of the time, clients usually get black trim. Black trim is, I would say, the most common trim, and it's for a reason. It looks beautiful. It looks so nice. A couple things about black, just super transparent. Black does attract heat, and especially in Texas, it gets pretty hot. So that's one thing you want to think about whenever you get a black color. It gets hot. But it all depends. If you're gonna keep your building insulated, it's something you shouldn't really be worried about. But other than that, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, and it is true. Thanks for mentioning that about black because, yeah, black definitely absorbs a little bit more heat. Yeah. You insulate it, your insulation is gonna work a little harder, but wait till we're in there because the amount of insulation we have here, no concerns at all.
Oh yeah.
Man, Windows. He does have multiple windows around, so he's getting some natural lighting, which is really important, which I highly recommend, natural lighting. So we got what, 4 windows?
It'll be 5 total.
Oh, 5?
Yeah, 5 total. We actually have one in the back end wall, several feet on that end wall.
Up high over there. If he builds a loft, it's enough space for a loft, for like a mezzanine, and he's already got that window where he can just open it up. Definitely for ventilation, if he wants to, he can just open up that window as well.
Absolutely.
So this is what open here. We got about...
So overall it's 50 length, and this is actually a 16 foot 10 inches enclosed section, and the remainder is open.
I built the brush seal, man. I love this little detail right here on the brush seal. The fact that our roll-up doors come standard with this brush seal here. I love that, man. I love this right here because it's not standard. It's something that companies usually don't add on the roll-up doors. But
the industry, right?
Yes, sir. But we do. We have brush seals on the sides and on the top of the roll-up doors, and their biggest purpose is because if you don't have this, you have bugs coming in, you have all type of things coming in your roll-up door because they have gaps in between.
Yeah, the rib side creates lighting to go in, and we were just testing and we went in and we closed it, which we will right now, go in the inside. And that's the beauty of these brush seals. Now, I know we used to offer header seals, and you were talking about that.
Yeah, made a great point with the header seal that it's something that over time, we're noticing that with customers that are having issues with the door, opening and closing, several times. It creates wear and tear on that header seal, which versus header seal, which just brushes just nicely up along as it rolls up.
Yeah, so that's why we started offering that. Now the header seal was only covering this gap, but you would still have lighting here, right? But now you basically are covering here. Critters are not able to come in. It's just much better. Now the price difference between what a header seal is, which you still offer in the industry, we don't offer it anymore, compared to brush seal. There's a pretty drastic price difference.
Yes. It is a little bit more to add the brush seal, but as you can see, as you can tell, and as our clients have spoken, it is 100% worth it. You have the bigger, it's fully better, more insulated and closed. That way it doesn't allow any bugs, anything from coming in.
And lighting. And then also like one thing that one time our client called and he's like, hey, I got a roll-up door, but it rattles a lot, or when there was a lot of wind, it rattles a lot. The brush seals actually help because it's putting a little bit more pressure. It helps with the rattling. We went and we put the brush seals, we really pressed it against it. It was a little bit more harder for him, but he said, I'd rather have that than hearing all this rattling. I can still make it work. And we solved that problem for him, and he was really happy because then the other option would have been getting overhead doors.
And it is cheaper going with brush seals than going with the overhead door.
So yeah, brush seals or overhead doors, yeah, that's just, that depends again on your project. Like here, this is just a storage space.
Use storage space.
Storage, that's why he didn't insulate it. So, come on in. This side of the building, definitely you're seeing an amazing epoxy that our client did. So it's something that we don't offer yet, but we don't offer yet, but it's something that we love. And this one looks very similar to the one we did in the Houston area in Magnolia. Our client did something very similar, and honestly, it's beautiful.
Oh man, it honestly is so beautiful. Javier, honestly, I think, man,
beautiful.
We gotta start offering this, Javier.
This is absolutely something.
Well, shout out to Willie.
Shout out to Willie, our concrete manager.
Oh yes, shout out to
We'll
Willie,
be talking
man.
to him about this definitely.
Yes.
But going inside, this is just storage space. Again, a roll-up door is good for storage space. I mean, I don't think there's a need to have a overhead door if you're, to stay within a good budget in a storage space where you're not going to insulate it. Now, if you were going to insulate it, then yeah, overhead doors to seals, and then you get insulation because these are made out of steel. The other challenge is like if you didn't have any shade, these get hot.
They get hot, yeah.
Yeah, and you can feel it in the inside. Now come on in, let's show how the brush seal like fully seals. It's gonna get really dark. There it is. There's no lighting, and that's just because of the brush seal.
I got scared.
Man, talk to us about the framing inside. I love the little detailed work that we're doing now on the inside. Talk to me, Javier.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're actually doing here 4-inch purlins here on the wall with the connection to welded here to a 4-inch post. And something that we like to always take in mind is getting advice from our builder. Something that he gave us an idea is to actually switch our beams from our 2x6 over to an 8x10 beam, which has honestly been a great addition. And we're always happy to hear and take advice from our contractors.
And it just makes for a smoother connection, and then even here it makes for like a really nice just flow of connection. Because sometimes if you have like a bigger purlin, then it just makes it where you got to do some custom work so it doesn't just look staggered or just not symmetrical. But here it's just really nice, and the welds, man, they're just beautiful. I know this came last minute, Javier. Did you have to deal with that?
We did have to deal with that. It was already about roughly day 4. Guys were already getting stuff put together, and we noticed and said, hey, Alec, our customer here with Magnificent Building didn't have a walk-in door from his main building over to his lean-to connection. We went ahead and made that recommendation. He said, let's do it. And I think it's just a great access point from main building to lean-to. It just allows that way you don't have to always open your roll-up door and have an easier access with an entry door.
And the walk-in door is a metal insulated walk-in door. So even though this part is not insulated, the fact that this walk-in door is insulated is still going to have the insulation inside the building.
Yeah, and it's actually locked. Oh. Man, look at our notch detail. I think with when you do epoxy, you can actually make the notch detail stand out. Again, obviously we have the lean-to. There's the concrete is drained away. That way, if any water lands here, it's going away. We have a higher finished elevation, so that way no water comes in. But then on top of that, we also have the notch where the door is landing at the bottom part, so that way any water that does try to go in, it's not gonna go in. So higher finished elevation, you can see the slope that we have, which usually we do about a 2% slope going down. And so this is all perfect.
Little details matter.
So guys, you guys ready to go in the inside? Because this is gonna be spectacular.
I can't wait.
Very excited.
It's good.
Keep in mind, when you insulate a building, it's not necessarily gonna make it cooler or it's gonna make it hotter. What it's gonna do is just gonna control. So whatever the temperature is inside, that's how it's gonna feel inside. So since it was cooler in the morning and you close your doors, it traps that temperature and it just basically stays that way. It's like a Yeti, And that's really what's being built here. So with the small little mini split, in like 10-20 minutes, it's gonna be cool in here, especially with insulated doors, insulated windows. These are double pane windows. When you're buying a metal building, if you just see, hey, 36 by 36 inch window, there's so many different types of windows.
Oh my God, yes. Especially on tubular. On tubular, when you get in a window in your building, more likely than not, you're gonna have that window is not gonna be insulated. Or windows, we offer non-insulated windows, but for red iron buildings, the standard is double pane insulated windows. This client decided to do 36 by 36, so 3 by 3 windows. They're double pane, they're insulated, and they're the best windows you can get to keep your structure insulated.
Especially like a workshop, garage. There's definitely like triple pane windows, which is more on the commercial side or like on the residential, but it's mostly on commercial where you can get like a triple pane windows. But hey, you can even hear the echo.
Yeah.
You can.
Yes.
Should we open the doors to test them?
Yes.
If you guys can click them at the same time. But these are the R6 insulated overhead doors. 14 by 14, ready, set, go. Who's gonna win? That way you guys can see a little bit more. But this is ice gray for our spray foam. This is not the full white, which I like ice gray. The challenge with white is that since this is a workshop, you're gonna get some dirt in the air.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, can get dirty.
Yeah, and you can tell, but just the way it has like the design, it's gonna attract it. Like it's gonna hold it. But ice gray hides it a little bit more.
Yes.
Okay. But then we got black on the roof. How much insulation did our client decide to do here?
Yes. So he decided to do 2-inch on the walls and then 3-inch on the roof. This client can live in here if he wanted to.
Man, it's solid, and that's the beauty of spray foam. I know there's other insulations that have an R value, but always keep in mind that R value is based on in a really controlled, perfect application. So when you see R values, that's the challenge. Like for example, with bubble insulation, with different types of insulation, it's also how it's installed. One of the beauties of spray foam is that it basically seals every little crevice. And that's what I love about the spray foam application.
By the way, Pac, just to have some clarification, it was actually a last-minute change here. We did mention it was ice gray. We actually made this work within 1 day. The customer said, hey, last minute, I want to do what is called soft gray here. And so what we did is, it was actually 2-inch initially all around, both walls and roof. Again, we made a last-minute change, but that's what I'm here for. I'll be bugging you day in, day out. Any questions that you have, always feel free to reach out to the building team and we'll make sure things work out.
So it turned out to be ice gray because I was, so whenever I came in and I heard ice gray, I'm like, wait, it does look a little bit different than the ice gray of a client that I just went to see. So this is soft gray.
Yeah, so this is soft gray. And the reason he loved the soft gray over the ice gray is, as we know, the panels are white. So it kind of gives it that full completion on the inside as well.
Like it matches the outside.
The outside, correct.
Beautiful. I mean, it still looks great. Like to me, ice gray and soft gray, to me, they look very similar. But overall, I mean, I still think it's in like my favorite color in the gray. That window, what's that window? Argenis, talk to me.
Yeah. So as you can see that window right there, nobody's tall enough to open that window. So the whole point of that window is a lot of clients, they get windows or they don't want to add electricity later on just because of, honestly, there are multiple reasons why, but they do taller windows. That way you have the sunlight and the light coming through. So as you can see that window right there, the whole purpose of that window is to have the sunlight coming through.
And as I was mentioning, like if he builds like a mezzanine, he's already kind of have a window accessible. Because again, what's the height, 16 foot tall?
It's 15 foot at the use.
Oh, 15 foot, okay. He still has sufficient space because of the 612 pitch.
Roof pitch.
Now, Javier, can you explain how long did this project take?
Yeah, so overall, what we take into account is always building and then of course accessories. So building overall is how long the building has been taken care of. So on the building side, how long the contractor overall puts the frame and sheets the building. So that took around roughly 2 weeks, and then we move on to what's our accessories, what adds a bit to our timeline. So accessories is gonna be what you're looking at here, overhead doors and spray foam. Overall together, the project took roughly 3 weeks for completion.
Oh yeah, that quick. We were right on.
Yeah, so actually what happened was before we finished off trimming out, we actually got with the door contractor, and before the building was completed, they said, hey, we have a schedule out for the door. I said, let's do it. Came in the same day as the builders and worked it all together, and the following next 2 days, we said, hey, we got a schedule for spray foam. Customer said, let's do it, and we did it.
Just kept moving.
Just kept moving.
We're on it. Good job, man. Good job. I know our client, if you, again, stick around because our client's doing an interview. They're really happy with how it turned out. The execution is a big part. I know when you're working with sales, selling is just one piece of it, which is only like 20% of the whole thing. Because the whole thing now involves a lot of additional work. Because one of the things I kind of want to talk about is like our client's still doing things outside of us. He did the epoxy, he still did the retaining wall in the back to protect the foundation, because there was a lot of grading here. So it's a lot of site prep, I'm imagining, because I could tell from when I was doing the first walkthrough. So when you're in the sales process, that's only 20% of what really is the whole process. talk to me at Argenis. How does our timelines work with our team?
Yes, sir. So, great thing we offer is for every project we do, we provide an estimated timeline from start to finish. So how long is the process going to take for permitting, for processing, for concrete, for building and accessories, like Javier was saying. This client, they know what they were doing, so they didn't have any permits to go through, so we actually went straight to processing. As soon as we started the project, we went straight to processing, then to site preparation and concrete, then building and accessories, so that the timeline and everything about it was seamless.
Awesome, awesome. And just in case you're wondering, when you do see like on the timeline, processing can be like 1 to 2 weeks or 1 to 3 weeks. This project's like 1 to 3 weeks in processing. What happens there is like the architectural plans are being designed, the whole framing plan. There's a review of like, can the doors fit? There's also a review if like, hey, we have some recommendations to the client. Can we fit certain things to prevent? So basically we say, we construct on paper and we just come here and we just execute.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because a lot of times what happens is that we get everything going. We sign the order form, we get everything going, but during processing, my engineers, my team, my crew review the whole project from start to finish, the building, make sure everything makes sense. And if something gets brought up, they let the clients know, hey, we recommend this, or hey, what do you think about doing this? So you can still make those little changes, like Javier said. For example, adding extra spray foam or the change in the colors, you can still make those changes, and then we go ahead and start production.
And that's really, really important, like the planning phase. That way when we get here, it goes smooth. It goes into 3 weeks instead of 5, 6 weeks when like, oh man, like the door isn't gonna fit. So now, well, now we got to bring in more people, and now we got to figure out, or we got to order custom tracks. You know, we've gone through that. We've gone through our challenges to why our system is the way it is, and it turns out to be 3 weeks to build. So beautiful, guys! Congratulations, man. This is awesome. And I think just like the fact of like coming in here and our clients are really happy with. Yes. There's no better feeling.
No, honestly,
no better feeling. Feels
there's
great.
no better feeling than that, man.
Absolutely.
They love the building, and that's what we do it for.
That's what we do. I think that's the most satisfying part of everything, is like when you get there and they're like, are you happy? And they're like, dude, I love it. This is what we do.
Yes.
Now guys, I know we got you guys a lot of value. This was a long video, but I know that this will all definitely help you guys out. One thing that I want to just say is, Argenis, do you want to talk to me? Can you help our clients in the future if they want to talk to you?
I will be more than glad to help my clients in the future. If you guys have any questions, or if you guys have anything in mind, maybe I want to do this, I want to know how much it is, feel free to give me a call. I hope my phone number is right there with my extension, and my teammate, shout out to Seth and Joseph. We'll be more than glad to assist you guys from start to finish.
Yeah, so basically you can just call and just say, hey, I want to speak to Argenis, you know, as my, you know, to start talking about sales, or like interested in the building or something like that. You can just call. And then Javier, nice to meet you. Nice to having you on the channel.
Absolutely.
I've met you, right? But nice to have you on the channel. And it's someone that you work on the red iron side.
I do, correct. So we've actually have separated for tubular and red iron, and I'm the one leading there, managing the red iron department.
Nice, man. Congratulations. This is a beautiful project. You did an amazing job. So if you are getting the red iron project, you're more than likely going to be speaking with Javier. And that's one of the reasons why we're bringing our team on the channel, to be able to help with that. Alrighty, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this amazing project. Again, we're out here in Weatherford. I'm hungry.
Weatherford.
And I'm hungry. It's already 1 o'clock, so I'm really hungry. Let's go get some tacos. But aside from that, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And stay tuned, because we got some amazing projects.
Oh yeah.
Let's go.
Do it.
Yeah, we really like the building.
I just like the quality and the communication, and everything just gelled, and it went really smoothly. I mean, the building went up in like, what?
2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, once concrete was done and cured. Yeah.
It was bam.